A city burned to ashes, its wall breached, and its people enslaved, all because of one power refused to let an ancient rival rise again. The Third Punic War was not a merely clash of empires, but a decisive conquest that would forever alter the landscape of the ancient Mediterranean, marking Rome's unchallenged dominance and Carthage's ultimate demise. Watch this video till the end, and if you wanna focus more on these type of videos and historical accounts, make sure to subscribe our channel. Let's get started. The Third Punic War, 149 to 146 BCE, the last in the series of Punic Wars, was an intense, brutal showdown between the Roman Republic and the North African city of Carthage. Although Carthage had once been a maritime superpower, its defeat in the Second Punic War, 218 to 201 BCE, had stripped it of its navy, colonies, and military power. Yet, despite these limitations, Carthage managed to revive economically, sparking fear in Rome that their old adversary might one day regain enough power to threaten them once more. This war encapsulates themes of unrelenting ambitions, crippling internal strife, and Rome's strategic effort to eliminate any future competition. In the year following the Second Punic War, Carthage found itself shackled by a peace treaty with Rome, severely restricting its military capabilities and subjecting it to annual indemnities. However, Carthage remained a wealthy trade hub, recovering financially and economically, which fueled concern in Rome. In contrast, Rome emerged from the previous war as a dominant power, conquering territories in Spain, Greece, and the Mediterranean island. Nevertheless, a fear persisted among Romans, especially those in the Senate, that Carthage, if allowed to prosper, could one day rekindle its former military might. Adding to these tensions was the kingdom of Numidia, Carthage's western neighbor. Under King Massinissa, an ally of Rome, Numidia frequently encroached upon Carthaginian territory, taking advantage of Carthage's inability to defend itself militarily due to the treaty's restriction. Despite repeated appeal to Rome to curb Numidian aggression, the Senate consistently ruled in Massinissa's favor. By 150 BCE, Carthage had reached its limit, resulting in a retaliatory strike against Numidia. This violation of treaty provided Rome with the perfect pretext to declare war, ostensibly to punish Carthage's breach of peace, but in reality to eliminate a rival once and for all. When the Roman Senate declared war on Carthage in 149 BCE, the Republic's strategy was to conduct a swift and total campaign. The objective was not merely to subdue Carthage, but to ensure that it could never again pose a threat. Consequently, Rome's initial demand was not for territory or concessions, but for Carthage's complete disarmament and relocation away from the coast, an impossible demand for a maritime city. For Carthage, the strategic and geographic situation was dire. Surrounded by Numidia to the west and a growing Roman presence on all sides of the Mediterranean, Carthage's isolation was near total. Furthermore, Rome effectively cut out any potential alliance that could assist Carthage, ensuring that the city faced a full force of Roman military power alone. Rome's knowledge of Carthaginian weaknesses from previous war also meant that they were all well prepared to exploit every vulnerability in Carthage's defenses. Carthage was already politically unstable at the time of Rome's declaration of war. The city was divided between two fractions. One group advocated for peaceful relations with Rome, while the other called for defiance against Numidian aggression, and by extension, Roman interference. This fractionalism undermined Carthage's unity and ability to make cohesive strategic decisions. While some Carthaginians argued for appeasement, others viewed the impending conflict as an unavoidable fight for survival. The internal struggle intensified after Rome demanded that Carthage disarm entirely. While Carthage initially complied with Rome's request, surrendering its weapons and war machines, the final demand to abandon the city pushed the Carthaginians into an open defiance. This polarization between factions cost Carthage valuable time and resources that could have been directed towards a focused defense. By the time Carthage committed to war, it was already a logistical disadvantage. Rome's strength lay in its organized military and political stability. The Roman legions were battle-hardened, highly disciplined, and equipped with advanced siege technology. Unlike Carthage, which had been forced to demobilize much of its army, Rome was free to deploy tens of thousands of well-trained soldiers and was not constrained by economic or political instability plagued by its opponent. Furthermore, Rome's strategy involved psychological warfare as much as it did brute force. Knowing Carthage's fear of destruction, the Romans used intimidation tactics and propaganda to undermine Carthaginian morale. Rome's clear-cut objective of total victory meant that it was not open to negotiation, projecting an aura of unstoppable power that weighed heavily on Carthage's leadership. The Third Punic War culminated in a 3-year siege of Carthage, with Roman forces surrounding the city by land and sea. The siege was characterized by fierce urban warfare, with Carthaginian defenders fighting desperately in narrow streets and fortified buildings. Carthage, though disadvantaged in manpower and resources, made extensive use of its existing city defenses and utilized every tactic available, including guerrilla-style ambushes and counterattacks, to slow Roman progress. The layout of Carthage, fortified walls, harbor defenses, and complex street system provided initial resilience. However, the city's isolation and lack of external support meant that supplies dwindled over time. Rome gradually tightened its grip, deploying a full blockade that cut off Carthage's food and water supplies. The Romans, under the command of Scipio Aemilianus, also began dismantling Carthage defenses systematically, breaching the wall and advancing through the city inch by inch. By the spring of 146 BCE, the Carthaginians were exhausted, weakened by starvation, disease, and unrelenting siege. Scipio ordered the final assault that breached Carthage's remaining defenses, initiating one of the most brutal episodes of the conflict. Roman forces advanced into the city, fighting block by block in what became a bloodbath of close-quarter combat. Carthage's last defender, many of them citizens rather than professional soldiers, fought to death. The end came swiftly once the Romans overran the inner city. Carthage was systematically destroyed. Buildings were razed, the streets were littered with the bodies of the defenders and civilians, and those who survived either enslaved or fled. To ensure that Carthage could never rise again, Roman soldiers reportedly sowed salt into the land, rendering it barren, a symbolic gesture underscoring Rome's unyielding determination to eradicate any future threat. The destruction of Carthage marked the complete subjugation of the Western Mediterranean under Roman control. As Rome annexed Carthaginian territories, transforming them into the Roman provinces of Africa, this act not only ended Carthaginian influence but also sent a powerful message to any potential rivals. Rome had shown that it would stop at nothing to protect its supremacy. Moreover, the fall of Carthage intensified Rome's internal strife as the wealth from the conquered territories flowed into the Republic, fueling class tensions and settling the stage for future internal conflict. Meanwhile, Carthage's complete destruction left a lasting legacy as a cautionary tale of resistance against Rome, establishing Rome as an unparalleled hegemon of the Mediterranean world. The Third Punic War stands as a decisive and ruthless conflict that reshaped the balance of power in the ancient world. Through a combination of overwhelming military strength, strategic maneuvering, and psychological warfare, Rome eradicated its long-standing rival. Well, this is it for today's video. If you wanna watch how Carthage came into power against the Roman Empire, watch this full playlist where not only we have covered First and Second Punic War, but also the origin of Roman Empire and the continuation of it till now.